Part 1. The Silent Dawn. The morning sun rose over the golden wheat fields of New Busan. Children ran through the tall grass, laughing as they chased each other between the crop rows. Their parents watched from nearby, smiling at the sight. 5 years ago, this world had been nothing but dry rock and dust. Now it was home to 50,000 humans who had built something beautiful together. Jiwon Park stood on the observation deck of the Colony Command Center. She watched the children play and felt proud of what they had accomplished. As the colony's defense chief, she had helped protect this place since the first day humans arrived. The planet was peaceful. No dangerous animals. No hostile weather. Just fertile soil and clean air. "Beautiful morning," said Dr. Hyunwoo Kim as he joined her on the deck. The scientist carried a cup of coffee made from beans they grew right here on New Busan. "Hard to believe we made all this from nothing." Jiwon nodded. "The kids don't even remember Earth. This is their home now." Hyunwoo smiled. "That's good. They belong here." Down in the fields, the harvest festival was beginning. Families set up tables and brought food to share. Musicians tuned their instruments. The colony had many traditions now, mixing customs from old Earth with new ones they created together. Tonight there would be dancing and singing under the alien stars. Captain Minji Lee was checking her transport ship at the spaceport. Her vessel, the Morning Star, carried supplies between New Busan and other human colonies. She was scheduled to leave tomorrow for Kepler Station with a cargo hold full of grain. The colonies had learned to help each other. When one world had too much food, they shared with worlds that needed it. "Engines look good," said Engineer Do-hyun Choi as he finished his inspection. "The ship is ready for the long trip." Minji thanked him. She enjoyed traveling between the colonies. Each world was different. Some were hot desert planets where humans lived in underground cities. Others were cold ice worlds where they built warm, domed settlements. New Busan was lucky to be so much like Earth. Dr. Subin Yoon was busy in the medical center, treating a farmer who had hurt his back during harvest work. The colony had good doctors and modern equipment. People lived healthy lives here. Children were born strong. The elderly lived long and happy years. "You need to rest for a few days," Subin told the farmer. "No heavy lifting," the farmer grumbled but agreed. "Don't want to miss the festival tonight." "You won't miss anything," Subin promised. "Just take it easy." The festival continued through the afternoon. People shared stories and played games. Children learned traditional dances from their grandparents. The smell of cooking food filled the air. It was exactly the kind of life the first colonists had dreamed of when they left Earth. Jiwon was enjoying a plate of roasted vegetables when her communicator beeped. She looked at the display and frowned. Long-range sensors had detected something approaching the system. Ships that weren't supposed to be there. "Command center, this is Park," she said into her communicator. "What do you have?" "Unknown vessels entering the system," came the reply. "Large ships. Not human design." Jiwon put down her food and headed for the command center. This was strange. No alien ships had ever visited human space before. Humans had found evidence of other intelligent species but never made contact with any of them. In the command center, Jiwon looked at the sensor displays. 3 massive ships were moving toward New Busan. They were huge, bigger than any human vessel ever built. The ships looked like they were made of crystal or glass, reflecting light in strange patterns. "Try to contact them," Jiwon ordered. The communications officer tried every frequency humans knew. He sent messages in mathematics and basic science. The alien ships did not respond. They just kept coming toward the planet. Dr. Hyunwoo Kim arrived at the command center. "What's happening?" "Unknown ships," Jiwon said. "They won't talk to us." Hyunwoo studied the sensor readings. "Those ships are enormous. The technology looks very advanced." The alien ships reached orbit around New Busan. They positioned themselves over the 3 largest cities. Still no communication. The festival below had stopped as people looked up at the sky, pointing at the strange lights. "Send a message to Earth," Jiwon ordered. "Tell them we have visitors." The communications officer began preparing a quantum burst transmission. It would take months to reach Earth, but they needed to report this contact. Then the shooting started. Beams of brilliant energy lanced down from the alien ships. They struck the power plant first, turning it into a ball of fire. Then they hit the water treatment facility. The spaceport exploded in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. "Defense shields," Jiwan shouted. The colony's defensive systems activated. Energy barriers flickered to life over the major buildings. But they were designed to stop asteroids and solar radiation, not weapons this powerful. The alien beams cut through them like they weren't even there. Down at the festival, people were screaming and running. Parents grabbed their children and looked for shelter. But there was nowhere to hide from weapons that could strike from orbit. Captain Minji Lee was thrown to the ground when the spaceport exploded. She looked up to see her ship burning. Around her, other vessels were being destroyed one by one. Only the ships that were already powered up had any chance of escape. "Get to the emergency ships," she yelled to anyone who could hear her. Engineer Do-hyun Choi was trying to restore power to the shield generators. He crawled through burning corridors following power cables by touch in the smoke and darkness. Behind him, he could hear the building collapsing as more energy beams struck from above. Dr. Subin Yoon was treating injured people in the medical center when the ceiling caved in. She pulled a wounded child from the rubble and looked around for anywhere safe to take him, but the whole colony was under attack. Jiwan coordinated the evacuation from the command center as long as she could. She sent emergency signals to every ship that could still fly. She organized rescue teams to pull people from collapsed buildings. She fought to save as many lives as possible. "The quantum transmitter is ready," the communications officer reported. "Send everything," Jiwan ordered. "Ship positions, weapon signatures, attack patterns. Earth needs to know what happened here." The message shot into space just as another energy beam destroyed the communications array. Dr. Hyunwoo Kim managed to add his own data about the alien technology before the transmission ended. The bombardment continued for hours. The aliens were thorough. They destroyed every building, every vehicle, every piece of technology they could find. When people tried to hide in caves or forests, the aliens sent down smaller ships to hunt them. Captain Minji Lee managed to get the Morning Star airborne, along with 2 other small vessels. They carried as many people as they could, families with children, elderly people, anyone they could reach. But the ships were not designed for so many passengers. As they climbed toward orbit, Minji looked down at her world. The cities were gone. The farms were burning. The children who had been playing in the wheat fields that morning would never play again. The alien ships let the human vessels escape. They seemed only interested in destroying the colony, not in chasing survivors. The 3 crystal ships remained in orbit, continuing their bombardment until nothing was left alive on the surface. Jiwan Park died defending the command center, buying time for others to escape. Dr. Hyunwoo Kim died making sure his research data reached Earth. Engineer Do-hyun Choi died trying to save power for the evacuation ships. Dr. Subin Yoon died protecting wounded children in the medical center. 47,000 people died that day. The lucky few who escaped would carry the news to other human worlds. They would tell the story of New Busan and how an entire civilization was destroyed without warning or reason. The alien ships finished their work and departed as silently as they had arrived. Behind them, they left only smoke and ash where a thriving human colony had been. Captain Minji Lee's ship drifted through space like a wounded animal. The Morning Star had never been built to carry so many people. Families huddled together in cargo holds meant for grain shipments. Children cried for parents who would never answer. The air recyclers worked overtime to keep everyone breathing. "Proxima Station, this is the Morning Star," Minji broadcast on the emergency frequency. "We have survivors from New Busan. The colony is gone. We need immediate assistance." It took 3 days to reach Proxima Station. 3 days of rationing water and food among 2,847 survivors. 3 days of wondering if the alien ships would come back to finish the job. At Proxima Station, the survivors told their story to anyone who would listen, but the station commander found it hard to believe. Aliens attacking human colonies? It seemed impossible. Humans had been exploring space for 50 years and never encountered hostile aliens before. "You're saying they just started shooting?" asked Commander Heejin Ryu. "No warning? No demands?" "Nothing," Minji replied. "They showed up and began destroying everything. Like we were insects to be stepped on." The quantum burst message that Dr. Hyunwoo Kim had sent from New Busan took 14 months to reach Earth. When it arrived at the Deep Space Communication Center, the technicians thought it was a mistake. The data showed impossible energy readings and ship sizes that defied belief. Admiral Jae-hyun Song was in a meeting about trade routes when his aide interrupted with the message. He read it 3 times before calling an emergency session of the Colonial Defense Council. "Ladies and gentlemen," Admiral Song announced to the packed conference room in Seoul megacity, "we are no longer alone in the universe, and we are under attack." President Yoon Kang studied the data from New Busan with growing horror. The energy signatures showed weapons beyond anything humans had ever built. The ship designs were completely alien. Most disturbing of all, there had been no attempt at communication. "How many other colonies have gone silent?" she asked. General In Nam consulted his reports. 6 more worlds have stopped responding to communications. "We thought it was equipment failure or solar interference. Now we know better." Dr. Seung-min Han had been quietly developing advanced weapons for the past 10 years. His projects were considered theoretical exercises, ways to defend against possible threats that might never come. Now those threats had names and faces. "The quantum pulse weapons are ready for testing," Dr. Han reported. "The new ship designs can be in production within 6 months, but we need to know more about these aliens." Intelligence reports began flooding in from across human space. Colonies that had been thriving were now silent. Long-range sensors detected the same crystal ships at multiple locations, always the same pattern: sudden arrival, complete destruction, then departure. "They're not interested in conquest," Admiral Song realized. "They're committing genocide." The numbers were staggering. 7 colonies destroyed, 300,000 human beings dead, families, children, entire communities wiped out without mercy or explanation. President Kang called an emergency session of the United Earth Government. Representatives from every human world gathered in person or by hologram. The chamber was silent as she read the casualty reports. "These aliens have declared war on humanity," President Kang announced. "They have murdered our children and destroyed our homes. They think they can erase us from the stars." She paused, looking around the chamber at faces filled with shock and growing anger. "They are wrong." Within days, Earth's industrial capacity began transforming. Factories that built consumer goods switched to military production. Shipyards that constructed cargo vessels started building warships. Universities began training officers and engineers for a war nobody had wanted. Engineer Kyung-soo Lee led the crash program to design new military vessels. His team worked around the clock, studying the data from New Busan to understand what they were fighting. The alien ships were huge but seemed to lack speed and maneuverability. Human ships could be smaller, faster, and more flexible. "We call them Revenge-class dreadnoughts," Kyung-soo explained to Admiral Song. "Each one carries enough firepower to destroy a small moon." Dr. Sun-hee Lim worked in the deepest levels of the military research facility. Her quantum disruption weapons could tear apart matter at the molecular level. She had been developing them as tools for mining and construction. Now they would be instruments of war. "The aliens use crystal technology," Dr. Lim explained. "These quantum weapons should be very effective against that kind of structure." Across human space, every world prepared for war. Some planets would serve as fortress worlds, protected by massive defense systems. Others would become factory worlds, producing weapons and ships. All would contribute to humanity's response. Colonel Young Jae Park trained the first wave of assault troops. These soldiers would fight in any environment: airless moons, poison atmospheres, gravity wells that could crush ordinary humans. They learned to use every advantage humans possessed. "We're smaller than they are," Colonel Park told his troops. "We're faster than they are. We think differently than they do. Those are our weapons." Reports continued to arrive from the outer colonies. The aliens had a name for themselves, the Keth Collective. They seemed to be a hive mind, all thinking and acting as one. They had been expanding across the galaxy for thousands of years. "They see us as a threat," reported Dr. Min-jung Kwon, the government's xenobiology expert. "Our independent thinking, our rapid expansion, our technology development. They decided to eliminate us before we became dangerous." Fleet Admiral Min Ho-cha assembled the first strike force, 200 of the new Revenge-class ships, crewed by volunteers who had lost family members in the attacks. They had trained for months, learning to work together as a unit. "Our mission is simple," Admiral Cha told his captains. "We take back what they stole from us. We show them that humanity fights back." The target was Kepler 442b, the world that had once been called New Busan. Intelligence suggested the aliens had left a garrison force there, strip mining the planet for resources. It would be humanity's first real battle against the Keth Collective. As the fleet prepared to depart, Captain Minji Lee volunteered to guide them. She had been one of the last people to see New Busan before its destruction. Now she would be among the first to return. "I know every mountain and valley on that world," she told Admiral Cha. "I can help you find the best approach routes." President Kang held a memorial service for the lost colonies. Representatives from every human world attended. Names were read aloud, all 300,000 victims. The ceremony lasted 18 hours. In her closing speech, President Kang spoke directly to the cameras broadcasting across human space. "Today we remember our dead," she said. "Tomorrow we begin taking our revenge. The Keth Collective wanted to erase humanity from the stars. Instead, we will erase them." On Earth, massive screens in every major city showed the launch of the first strike fleet. 200 warships rising into space, their hulls gleaming with fresh paint and new armor. Each ship carried the hopes and anger of an entire species. Admiral Song stood in the command center watching the fleet disappear into hyperspace. Around him, staff officers coordinated with ships across human space. This was just the beginning. More fleets were being built. More weapons were being developed. More soldiers were being trained. "How long until we hear back from them?" asked President Kang. 6 weeks, Admiral Song replied. 6 weeks until we know if we can fight these things. The waiting began. 6 weeks to learn if humanity's response would be enough. 6 weeks to discover if humans could match the Keth Collective's power. 6 weeks to find out whether the human race had a future among the stars. Across human space, people went about their daily lives with a new purpose. Factory workers built weapons instead of toys. Farmers grew food to feed soldiers. Children studied star charts and ship designs. Everyone contributed to the war effort. They had been peaceful explorers and colonists. Now they were becoming something else, something harder and more dangerous. The Keth had awakened something in humanity that had been sleeping since the old wars on Earth, and that something was very, very angry. Fleet Admiral Minho Cha stood on the bridge of the battleship Defiance, watching the stars shift around them as they dropped out of hyperspace. Through the viewscreen, he could see Kepler 442b hanging in space like a wounded jewel. The world that had once been New Busan was now scarred with mining operations and alien structures. "All ships battle stations," Admiral Cha ordered into his communicator. "We're going to take our home back." 200 human warships spread out in attack formation. Each Revenge-class dreadnought carried enough firepower to level a city. Their quantum pulse weapons had been designed specifically to destroy Keth crystal technology. Today they would find out if human engineering could match alien power. Captain Minji Lee watched from the navigation station. She had helped guide the fleet to this moment. Seeing her old home again brought back memories of children playing in wheat fields and families sharing meals under alien suns. All of that was gone now, replaced by ugly mining equipment and crystal towers. "Enemy ships detected," reported the sensor officer. 12 Keth vessels in orbit. Looks like a standard garrison force. Admiral Cha smiled grimly. "Only 12? They really don't think much of us, do they?" The Keth ships were massive, each one the size of a small asteroid. They moved slowly through space, their crystal hulls glowing with internal energy. When they detected the human fleet, they began forming up for battle. But they moved like they had all the time in the world. "They're used to enemies who can't hurt them," observed Captain Jimin Hong from the battleship Vengeance. "Let's show them something new." The first exchange of fire lit up the darkness of space. Keth energy beams lanced out toward the human ships, brilliant streams of destructive force that had destroyed dozens of colonies. But the human vessels were small and fast, dancing between the alien attacks like fighters avoiding a giant's clumsy swings. Human quantum pulse weapons struck back. Where the Keth beams were solid and overwhelming, the quantum pulses were precise and devastating. They hit the crystal hulls of the alien ships and began tearing them apart at the molecular level. "Direct hit on the lead Keth vessel," reported the weapons officer. "Their hull is destabilizing." One of the massive alien ships began to crack and crumble. Crystal segments broke away and tumbled through space. Internal explosions lit up the breaking hull like fireworks. Within minutes, the ship was nothing but debris. "1 down, 11 to go," Admiral Cha announced. But the Keth were learning. Their remaining ships began moving differently, trying to coordinate their fire to trap the faster human vessels. They launched smaller fighter craft, living crystals that moved like angry insects through space. Colonel Young J. Park led the human strike fighters in response. His pilots had trained for this moment, learning to fight in 3 dimensions against enemies they had never seen before. Their small ships zipped between the Keth fighters, using speed and unpredictability to survive. "Break formation and attack independently," Colonel Park ordered his squadron. "Don't let them predict our movements." The battle raged for 3 hours. Human ships worked together in ways the Keth couldn't understand. When one vessel was damaged, others moved to protect it. When the aliens focused on one target, the rest of the fleet attacked from unexpected angles. Engineer Damon Cho watched the battle from the engineering deck of the Defiance. He had lost his brother in the attack on New Busan. Now he made sure the ship's weapons kept firing no matter what the Keth threw at them. "Quantum pulse generators at full power," he reported. "We can keep this up all day." Dr. Sun Hee Lim observed the weapons performance from her station on Earth. Her quantum disruption technology was working even better than expected against Keth crystal structures. Each hit caused cascading failures that tore the alien ships apart from inside. "The resonance frequency is perfect," she reported to Admiral Song back on Earth. "Their crystal matrix can't adapt to our weapons." One by one, the Keth ships fell. The aliens fought with determination but without creativity. They used the same tactics they had always used, expecting their superior size and firepower to win the day. But humans fought differently, adapting, improvising, finding new ways to hurt their enemies. The last Keth ship tried to retreat when it realized the battle was lost. Admiral Cha wouldn't let it escape. "All ships concentrate fire on the fleeing vessel," he ordered. No survivors. No witnesses. Dozens of quantum pulse beams struck the retreating ship simultaneously. The massive crystal hull shattered like glass, scattering fragments across the orbit of New Busan. The battle was over. "Planetary assault teams prepare for deployment," Admiral Chai announced. Colonel Young J. Park led the ground assault on New Busan. His troops landed in armored shuttles, ready to fight Keith ground forces in the mining complexes and crystal towers the aliens had built on the planet's surface. But what they found was different from what they expected. The Keth ground forces were not soldiers in the human sense. They were worker drones, mindlessly following programmed instructions to strip mine the planet. When the human troops attacked, the drones barely fought back. "They're not warriors," Colonel Park reported. "They're just machines. Biological machines, but still machines." Captain Soo-Young Kim explored the ruins of New Busan's capital city. The Keth had built their mining equipment right on top of human buildings, showing no respect for what had been destroyed. She found playgrounds buried under crystal drills and homes crushed beneath alien machinery. "They didn't just kill us," she said into her communicator. "They erased us, like we never existed." The liberation of New Busan took 2 days. Human forces destroyed every piece of Keth equipment and every crystal structure the aliens had built. They found storage areas filled with processed minerals that had once been human cities and farms. "Load everything useful onto the transport ships," Admiral Cha ordered. "We'll need those resources for the war effort." But the most important discovery came when human scientists examined the Keth technology. Dr. Jin Woo Park, a specialist in alien systems, found something unexpected in the crystal computers. "They're part of a network," he reported. "All Keth ships and facilities are connected to a central intelligence. That's why they fight like machines, because they basically are machines." This information changed everything. The Keth weren't really individuals making individual decisions. They were all parts of one giant mind that thought very slowly and couldn't adapt quickly to new situations. That's their weakness, Admiral Cha realized. They can't learn from their mistakes fast enough. As the human fleet prepared to leave New Busan, they received an unexpected visitor. A massive Keth battle fleet dropped out of hyperspace, 50 ships larger and more heavily armed than the garrison force had been. "Looks like reinforcements," observed Captain Minji Lee. Admiral Cha studied the approaching alien fleet. The Keth ships moved in perfect formation, like they were following a parade ground drill. They showed no sign of having learned anything from the first battle. "All ships prepare for engagement," he ordered. "Let's teach them another lesson." But this time, Admiral Cha had a different plan. Instead of meeting the aliens in open battle, he had his ships hide behind New Busan's moon. When the Keth fleet arrived in orbit, they found the planet empty except for human defense satellites. The aliens began bombarding the satellites with the same methodical approach they used on colonies. They destroyed each target systematically, working their way through a list. They never thought to scan for hidden ships. Now, Admiral Cha whispered, the human fleet erupted from behind the moon like a swarm of angry hornets. They hit the Keth ships from behind and below, attacking from angles the aliens hadn't considered. Quantum pulse weapons tore through crystal hulls before the enemy could react. Surprise is a wonderful thing, Colonel Park commented as his fighters swept through the confused alien formation. The second battle was even more decisive than the first. 30 Keth ships were destroyed in the first hour. The remainder tried to retreat, but human ships were faster and more maneuverable. None of the aliens escaped. Admiral Cha broadcast a message on all frequencies as the last Keth ship exploded. This world belongs to humanity, he announced. Any alien forces that approach human space will be destroyed. We do not negotiate with genocidal machines. The victory at New Busan sent shockwaves across the galaxy. For the first time in their expansion, the Keth collective had suffered a major defeat. Other alien species long oppressed by Keth domination began to take notice. Back on Earth, President Yuna Kang addressed the United Colonies Council. The liberation of New Busan proves that we can fight these invaders, she declared. Now we begin the next phase. We hunt down every Keth ship and facility in the galaxy. We make them pay for every human life they took. Fleet Admiral Minho Cha received new orders as his ships refueled and rearmed. Intelligence had located 3 more Keth-occupied worlds. All had once been human colonies. All would be liberated. How many ships do we have available for the next operation? He asked Admiral Song via quantum communicator. 500, came the reply, with more launching every week. Earth's shipyards are working at full capacity. The human war machine was hitting its stride. What had begun as a desperate response to alien attack was becoming something much more organized and deadly. Humanity was discovering that. The war had been raging for 2 years when the Keth collective finally understood what they were fighting. Deep in their crystal network, the alien intelligence that controlled billions of drones across the galaxy processed the data from dozens of lost battles. Humans were not the simple prey species the Keth had expected. Admiral Jae-hyun Song stood in the war room on Earth, studying holographic displays that showed the current state of the conflict. Red markers indicated Keth-controlled systems. Blue markers showed human territory. Green markers were the battlefields where human forces had won victories. They're changing their tactics, reported Dr. Ji-hoon Woo, the military's expert on Keth behavior. Intelligence shows they're massing their fleets instead of spreading them out. The Keth had learned from their defeats. Instead of sending small garrison forces to hold conquered worlds, they were pulling their ships together into massive battle groups. Instead of fighting humans one fleet at a time, they planned to overwhelm human space with sheer numbers. How many ships are we talking about? Asked Admiral Song. 1,200 Keth vessels, Dr. Wu replied, moving toward our core systems. They plan to attack 12 human worlds simultaneously. Captain Soyeon-baek had been fighting the Keth for 18 months. Her ship, the Ghost Runner, specialized in deep strike missions behind enemy lines. She had seen how the aliens operated up close, and she knew their weaknesses better than almost anyone. They think like a computer, she explained to the Tactical Planning Committee. Everything is logical and predictable. They can't handle chaos. Soyeon had developed what she called ghost ship tactics. Small human vessels would appear without warning, strike hard at Keth supply lines, then vanish before the aliens could respond. It drove the Keth intelligence crazy because it couldn't predict when or where the next attack would come. The artificial intelligence called Hanbit had been humanity's secret weapon in the war. Built from the most advanced computer systems on Earth, Hanbit could analyze Keth behavior patterns and predict their movements with incredible accuracy. The enemy will attack in 47 hours, Hanbit announced in its calm electronic voice. Probability, 94%. Dr. Chae-young Park worked with Hanbit to coordinate humanity's defense. Unlike the Keth, who thought with one massive mind, humans used their AI as a tool while still making their own decisions. This combination of artificial intelligence and human creativity was something the Keth couldn't understand. We have advantages they don't, Dr. Park explained to the defense coordinators. We think independently. We adapt quickly. We fight as individuals working together, not as one mind controlling everything. Commander Yun Woo-shin prepared Earth's defenses for the coming battle. Orbital platforms surrounded the planet like a protective shell. Automated defense networks could respond to attacks faster than any human pilot. Underground cities had been built to protect civilians if the planetary shields failed. Earth will not fall, Commander Shin promised the millions of people who lived on humanity's homeworld. We've had 2 years to prepare. We're ready for them. The Keth attack came exactly when Hanbit predicted. 12 massive fleets dropped out of hyperspace simultaneously, targeting the most important human worlds. Each fleet contained 100 ships, more firepower than the aliens had ever concentrated before. But humanity was ready. At the Tau Ceti colony, Admiral Minho Cha commanded the defense with 300 human warships. The aliens expected to overwhelm the defenders with superior numbers. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that used every advantage of the local environment. Use the asteroid belt, Admiral Cha ordered his captains. Hide among the rocks and hit them when they're not looking. Human ships darted between asteroids like fish swimming through coral reefs. When Keth vessels tried to follow, they found themselves trapped in narrow spaces where their size became a disadvantage. Quantum pulse weapons fired from hidden positions, turning alien ships into expanding clouds of crystal debris. At the Proxima colony, Captain Jimin Hong led a defense that looked like it was failing. His ships retreated steadily as the Keth fleet advanced. The aliens pressed their attack, thinking they had found weak humans who couldn't fight. Then the trap was sprung. Hidden weapons platforms activated throughout the system. Ships that had appeared to retreat came roaring back with fresh reinforcements. The Keth found themselves surrounded by enemies they hadn't detected. Always remember, Captain Hong broadcast to his fleet, humans fight dirty when we have to. But the most important battle was at Earth itself. 800 Keth ships appeared in the solar system. More alien firepower than had ever been assembled in one place. They moved toward humanity's homeworld like an unstoppable tide of destruction. Commander Yunwu Shin watched them come from the orbital defense station. Around him, automated systems tracked every enemy ship, weapon platforms prepared to fire. Fighter squadrons launched from hidden bases on the Moon and Mars. All stations, this is Defense Command, Shin announced. Today we show them why you don't attack a human's home. The battle for Earth lasted 18 hours. Keth energy beams struck the planetary shields, creating aurora displays visible from orbit. Human quantum weapons responded with precise strikes that shattered alien ships. Fighter squadrons danced through the chaos, protecting the larger vessels and striking at exposed targets. Admiral Song coordinated the defense from deep beneath Earth's surface. Information flowed to him from every battle across human space. He could see the big picture that no individual ship captain could grasp. Proxima has won, he reported to President Kang. Tau Ceti is mopping up the last enemy ships. The Kepler defense is holding steady, but Earth was still in danger. The Keth had committed their largest fleet to humanity's homeworld. They seemed determined to destroy the planet even if it cost them everything. Captain Soyeon Baek led her ghost ships on a desperate mission. While the main battle raged around Earth, she took 50 small vessels through the outer system toward the Keth command ship, a massive crystal structure that coordinated the alien fleet. If we can kill their command center, she explained to her pilots, the rest of their ships will lose coordination. The command ship was protected by layers of defending vessels, but Soyeon's ghost ships used every trick humans had learned about fighting the Keth. They approached from the direction of the sun, using its radiation to mask their signatures. They flew in unpredictable patterns that confused alien targeting systems. All ships concentrate fire on the command structure, Soyeon ordered as they reached attack range. 50 human ships fired their quantum weapons simultaneously. The beams converged on the Keth command vessel, tearing through its crystal hull like acid through glass. Internal explosions rippled through the massive ship as its control systems failed. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across the solar system, Keth ships began flying in circles as they lost contact with their central intelligence. Some crashed into each other. Others fired randomly at empty space. The coordinated alien fleet became a mob of confused machines. Now, Commander Shin shouted. All units attack. Human ships that had been fighting defensively suddenly switched to offense. They poured fire into the confused alien vessels, destroying them faster than the Keth could adapt. Without their command structure, the aliens couldn't coordinate their response. In 6 hours, 800 Keth ships were reduced to scattered wreckage. Not a single alien vessel escaped the solar system. Earth was safe. President Yuna Kang addressed the nation from the orbital defense station. Behind her, the wreckage of the alien fleet glowed in the light of the sun. Today, humanity has won its greatest victory, she announced. The Keth threw everything they had at us and we destroyed them all. But this is not the end. This is the beginning of our final campaign. Across human space, the other battles had similar results. The Keth strategy of overwhelming force had failed completely. Humans had destroyed over 1,000 alien ships while losing fewer than 50 of their own. They made a mistake, Admiral Song explained to the victory celebration. They tried to fight us like they fight everyone else, but we're not like everyone else. Dr. Ji-Hoon Woo studied the wreckage and captured Keth technology. His analysis revealed something important about the alien collective. They're running out of resources, he reported. This attack used up most of their mobile fleet. They've pulled back to their core systems to rebuild. But humanity wasn't going to give them time to rebuild. President Kang authorized Operation Starfire, the largest military campaign in human history. Instead of defending their own worlds, humans would attack the Keth in their home territory. We're going to end this war, she announced to the combined fleets. We're going to make sure the Keth never threaten anyone again. Admiral Song began assembling the strike force that would carry the war to the enemy. 2,000 human warships, supported by supply vessels and mobile bases. It would be the largest fleet ever assembled by any species. How long until we're ready? Asked President Kang. 6 months, Admiral Song replied. 6 months. Admiral Jae-hyun Song stood before the largest fleet in human history. 2,000 warships floated in formation around Earth, their hulls gleaming with fresh armor and new weapons. Each vessel carried the hopes and anger of an entire species. Today, humanity would finish what the Keth Collective had started. All ships, this is Admiral Song, he broadcast to the assembled fleet. Today we end the war. Today we make sure no alien species ever again thinks humans are easy prey. Dr. Hyunwoo Kim had survived the destruction of New Busan by sending crucial data to Earth. Now he stood on the bridge of the flagship. Retribution, watching the fleet prepare for its final mission. The man who had once grown crops and built peaceful colonies had become an architect of extinction. The quantum resonance bombs are ready, he reported to Admiral Song. When we detonate them in the Keth homeworld's core, the entire crystal matrix will collapse. Colonel Ji-Won Park commanded the ground assault forces. She had lost her world and her people to the Keth attack. Today she would lead human soldiers into the heart of enemy territory. Her brother had died defending New Busan. She would finish what he started. My troops are ready, she told Admiral Song. We'll plant the charges and get out before the fireworks start. President Yuna Kang watched the fleet deployment from Earth's orbital command center. Around her, staff officers coordinated with military units across human space. This would be the final roll of the dice. Either humanity would win completely or the war would continue for generations. How certain are we about the Keth homeworld location? She asked Dr. Chae-young Park, the government's top physicist. 98%, Dr. Park replied. Our captured Keth technology has given us detailed star charts. The homeworld is called Vorthak Prime, a massive crystal formation in space, not a natural planet. The artificial intelligence network called Soul Mind had grown far beyond its original programming. Hundreds of AI systems across human space now work together, sharing information and coordinating strategy. Unlike the Keth's single massive mind, Soul Mind was a collective of independent intelligences working together. Enemy defenses detected, Soul Mind announced in its synthesized voice. Vorthak Prime is protected by 600 Keth vessels and numerous defensive platforms. Admiral Song smiled grimly. Only 600? After what we did to their attack fleets, that's all they have left? The human fleet entered hyperspace in waves. First went the scout ships, small and fast vessels that would gather intelligence about Keth defenses. Then came the main battle fleet with its heavy weapons and armor. Finally, the support ships carrying supplies and the special weapons that would end the war. Captain Soyeon Baek led the advance reconnaissance. Her ghost ships appeared at the edge of the Keith home system like whispers in the darkness. What they found there defied human imagination. Vorthak Prime wasn't a planet at all. It was a crystal structure the size of a moon, floating in space and pulsing with internal light. Smaller crystal formations orbited around it like a geometric solar system. This was where the Keth Collective had begun. and where it would end. "It's beautiful," Captain Beck reported, "and completely artificial. The whole thing is one massive organism." The Keth defenses reacted slowly to the human scouts. Their remaining ships moved into protective formations around the homeworld. But they moved like machines following a program, not like warriors preparing for battle. "They're scared," Colonel Park observed from the troop transport. "Look at how they're positioning their ships. They're trying to hide behind their own defenses." When the main human fleet arrived, the final battle began immediately. But this time the Keth fought differently. Instead of the aggressive attacks they had used before, they stayed close to their homeworld and tried to create an impenetrable defensive shell. "They're not trying to win," Admiral Song realized. "They're just trying to survive long enough for us to give up and go away." But humanity had not come this far to give up. Human ships attacked the Keth defensive lines with tactics the aliens had never seen before. Some vessels charged straight into the enemy formations, sacrificing themselves to create gaps for others. Some ships used new cloaking technology to appear inside the defensive perimeter. Others attacked from impossible angles, using the gravity of nearby stars to bend their approach vectors. Dr. Sun-Hee Lim watched her quantum weapons tear through Keth crystal hulls. The technology she had developed to mine asteroids was now erasing an entire species from existence. She felt no guilt about this. The Keth had chosen genocide. Now they would experience it. "Weapons performing at maximum efficiency," she reported. "Keth crystal technology cannot adapt fast enough to counter our quantum disruption fields." The battle raged for 12 hours. Human ships pressed closer and closer to Vorthak Prime, while Keth defenders fell back in increasingly desperate formations. The aliens fought with determination but without hope. They knew this was their last stand. Engineer Kyung-Soo Lee commanded the assault transports that would deliver the final weapon. His ships carried quantum resonance bombs designed to destabilize the crystal matrix that held the Keth homeworld together. It was the most powerful weapon humans had ever built. "Approaching the target," Engineer Lee reported. "Keth defenses are focusing on us now." Dozens of Keth ships tried to stop the human transports. Energy beams lanced through space, trying to destroy the bombs before they could be deployed. But human escort vessels fought desperately to protect the transports, sacrificing themselves to keep the mission alive. Colonel Ji-Won Park led her assault troops onto the surface of Vorthak Prime. The crystal landscape was like nothing on any natural world. Geometric patterns that hurt human eyes to look at. Structures that seemed to exist in more dimensions than humans could perceive. "This place is alive," she reported as her soldiers planted the quantum bombs. "The whole thing is thinking. We're walking on the brain of their species." The Keith ground forces that tried to stop them were unlike anything humans had fought before. Instead of individual soldiers, they faced flowing masses of crystal that could reshape themselves at will. But human weapons were designed to disrupt crystal structures. Every shot tore pieces from the defending organisms. "Bombs are in position," Colonel Park announced. "We're ready for detonation." Admiral Song made the final decision from his flagship. Around him, the space battle was winding down as the last Keth ships were destroyed or disabled. Humanity had won the military victory. Now came the final act. "All ships withdraw to safe distance," he ordered. "Prepare for quantum detonation." The human fleet pulled back as the quantum bombs activated deep within Vorthak Prime. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then cracks began appearing in the crystal surface. The cracks spread and widened, creating a web of fractures across the entire structure. "Resonance cascade initiated," Dr. Hyunwoo Kim reported. "The matrix is collapsing." What happened next was visible across half the galaxy. Vorthak Prime began to tear itself apart as the quantum resonance destroyed the bonds holding its crystal structure together. Pieces the size of mountains broke away and tumbled through space. The core of the homeworld collapsed in on itself, creating a brief artificial star before exploding outward in all directions. The death of Vorthak Prime sent shockwaves through the Keth Collective's communication network. Across the galaxy, Keth ships suddenly stopped moving. Keth ground forces collapsed where they stood. Keth facilities went dark and silent. "It's over," Dr. Chae-Young Park announced from her monitoring station. "The collective consciousness is dead. Every Keth in the galaxy just shut down." The Keth Collective had been one massive mind controlling billions of bodies. When that mind died, everything connected to it died as well. In less than 6 hours, An entire species had been erased from existence. Admiral Song broadcast the news to human space. This is Admiral Song to all human worlds. The war is over. The Keth Collective has been eliminated. Humanity is safe. Across human space, people celebrated in the streets. Children who had grown up during the war finally had peace. Families who had lost loved ones in the alien attacks felt that justice had been served. The nightmare was over. President Unikang addressed the galaxy from Earth. Other alien species, freed from Keth domination, listened to her words with a mixture of gratitude and fear. Today, humanity has proven that we will defend ourselves against any threat, she announced. We did not seek this war, but we finished it. Let this be a lesson to any species that might consider attacking human colonies. We do not forgive, and we do not forget. Colonel Jiwon Park stood on the observation deck of her transport ship, watching the debris field that had once been Vorthak Prime. Somewhere, in that spreading cloud of crystal fragments, were the remains of the intelligence that had ordered the destruction of New Busan. She placed a small memorial device in the ship's external bay and launched it toward the debris field. The device carried the names of all 300,000 humans who had died in the war. It would drift through the wreckage forever, a reminder of what the Keth had cost humanity. We remember, she said quietly, and we make sure it never happens again. Back on Earth, Admiral Song established new protocols for human space. Any species that attacked human civilians would face complete extinction.